Hey, it's Dave and Alex from the Mentoring Effect. Today we're going to take a bit of a deep dive into having a look at what goes on behind the scenes and what causes the effects of burnout and what can be done to actually overcome that.
Thank you, Dave. I will interview you probably because you have a lot of experience. Yeah,
Cool.
okay, I will just start with questions. Yeah, okay, can you please tell me, probably just quickly, or maybe like a 30 seconds background check about yourself, something about yourself and about your background.
I'm 5'10" and a bit, very handsome, incredibly good looking. Is that the background? No.
Okay, yeah, that's very helpful.
That's very helpful. So my background is, I've been in the working world for about 30 years. The last 20, I'd say over 20 years of that has effectively been self-employed. Running family businesses in the realms of financial planning and finance broking. I've done a fair bit of contract work here and there as well. The last 4 years now has been I transitioned from running the financial planning practice into running a business coaching and consultancy practice, after a period of time recovering from what I'm going to call burnout. After 15 years of looking after everybody else and dealing with everyone else's problems and helping them get their life on track, I'd woken up one day and realised that I'd severely been neglecting myself and my own needs. And that came with consequences.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I'm actually more curious about the burnout, because you already mentioned that, and probably if you can explain how did you experience that, or how did you find out that's burnout? What was that for you?
So for me, it wasn't any one thing in particular. It was just the relentless, non-stop stress and pressure of just what became Groundhog Day. It was just a daily grind every day, day in, day out, and it didn't really seem to matter what I did. The outcomes just stayed the same. I couldn't see my way out of the rut that I was in to start to get different results. And honestly, it just got to the point where just fatigue set in, just that point of total exhaustion, and just didn't have it in me to keep doing what I was doing. And look, there was a number of different things that coincided with that. But effectively, it meant actually standing down from the role that I was doing, which was managing the family business of financial planning and broking. Now, I was in a situation where I could barely look after and manage myself, let alone be put in charge of managing the needs and affairs of clients. And I had to do some real soul searching, taking a bit of time out to figure out, where I was at, who I was, what did I want to be, and how did all that look? And it's not an answer that came, in an hour, in a day, in a week. It literally took 6 to 12 months to work through that process and start to rebuild me again.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Did I have any, or does that have any physical aspects? Like, did you feel like, what was going on with the burnout? Like, what did it bring into your life, or how did you feel?
Oh, wow. It affected my health, my ability to manage stress, anger issues, just frustration, fatigue, procrastination, stuck in overwhelming anxiety on a, I'm going to say on a daily basis, but it was just constant. There was no reprieve. It was just every single minute of the day was that that overwhelm of emotions flooding through you. From a health perspective, I'd really not looked after myself. I wasn't eating well. I was probably 50 kilo overweight.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and just not a healthy person inside and out. It was just
Yeah.
not a nice place.
Thank you for sharing. That's very personal, and I really appreciate that. I have probably one important question that will be probably important for everyone who is listening. What was your turning point when you decide to actually change everything, or when was like the line like, okay, this is enough, or what made you change it?
Um, wow, what a question. I think when you what was the turning point? There's a lot of denial that takes place, like a heck of a lot. And you're stuck in the rut, and it's everybody else's fault, not your own.
Yeah,
At
I know
least,
that one.
at least that's what it's like when you're in that place. You're blaming everyone and everything around you. And so I'm trying to find an exact point for you. I think let me have another go at answering that. It's funny when you're in that phase of sorry, Alex, just give me a minute to get my head on this.
That's fine. You have your time.
Okay. Wow, that's a great question. It's funny because when you're in that process of burnout, when it's escalating and when it's unrelenting, and nothing around you seems to be going right, the first thing you do is blame everyone else and everything around you for all the problems that you have. And well, certainly that's what I was doing. I wasn't looking within me. And I guess the turning point is when you wake up one morning in a treatment facility and you're having a conversation with a psychologist, and you just start to ask yourself the question of just how the hell did I get here? What were the, just there was, and I guess I can't pinpoint any one thing up to that point, but what I can just say is it was a build up of years of stress, and the last 3 months up until that point, 4 months up until that point, I suppose, was just unrelenting. Like it was absolutely just like pounding on the door to get in on a minute to minute basis every single day. I wasn't sleeping, I was eating poor. And you just the story on how I got to the clinic and the treatment facility is just it's a whole nother interview. But there's to wake up in that morning and then you're going through multiple sessions with different psychologists and different carers, I think that you'd call them. That
That's big.
you get to the end of the day and you just think, just how the hell did I get here? I need to do something different. And I that was kind of the process that it went through. And I didn't have that conscious awareness in that moment that I need to do something different. It was the help and the assistance from those people over the course of probably a week and a half, whatever it was, that they started to equip me with these new ways of looking at things, these new viewpoints, and that set me off on a path and a journey just to really start to work on me, consume everything that I possibly could from a personal development space. But the great thing was, that meant that I started to invest my time, effort, and energy into surrounding myself with, brilliant authors, fantastic speakers, some of the best thought leaders, coaches, and mentors in the world. And that was giving me this whole new toolbox full of tools that I could now use to take myself out of these pits of despair and combat that burnout.
Yeah. That means that was mostly the turning point was mostly when you came to the clinic and you basically get like a slap on your face, like, what the hell, like this is too much.
Yeah.
it was kind of like an eyes opener, or you were quite surprised
Look, I
with
think
your
that
decision?
was the probably the fortnight up to that was just a
Yeah.
blur. Like you know,
Okay.
there's so much that happened within that fortnight, and some of it I have conscious memory of, and others I can only fill in the blanks from what other people have told me. But I was
Yeah.
literally just going through the motions on some days, and I was just so stressed, so worked up that
Yeah.
it was just that you know if you can't think back to the previous day and it's just a blur and you have no definity in the things that you're doing, where you
Yeah.
were, what you were doing, how you even got through the day, that's a pretty good indication that
Wow.
burnout's on the
Yeah.
way. So,
Yeah, it sounds like that. I definitely
yeah,
trust you.
yeah. No.
Yeah. Look, it's huge. I believe there are so many steps and so many things you need to do to overcome this kind of feelings and situation. I believe that's probably too long to describe. But when I can ask you for like just like a small advice, what you would say to people to just some easy step, or maybe a few 2-3 steps they can do to overcome when they're coming to the burnout, or when they feel that it's close to them, or they feel like they burn out. Like, what is the probably quick help? I would say, I know that doesn't exist probably quick fix, but just kind of like a first step, like, okay, I can just help myself.
I think it's important to distinguish that for busy executives, business owners, high achievers, people that have a lot on their plate. The first thing that's actually happening is they're in denial. They are you're constantly thinking you're 10 foot tall and bulletproof, that it won't happen to me. I've got this. I've got it under control. And you're not even aware of the signs and the symptoms going on around you that says that this is imminent.
Yeah.
And I think from an awareness perspective, and this is just through my own journey, is start to be aware of things like, if you've put on significant amount of weight, if you're not managing your stress, if you're getting angry for no apparent reason and getting easily frustrated. If you've got, as kids, if you've got kids as I had and do, were you short-tempered with your children and just not present for them when you're
Yeah.
at home and in that space? The quality of relationship that you have with your partner, from my perspective, my marriage was hanging on by the thinnest of threads. And I'm just fortunate to be married to such a wonderful woman that had the insight and the patience with me to know that this was something that I needed to go through and come out the other side, and I don't think she necessarily knew how to help me do that, but she knew that's what I had to do.
Yeah.
So she created the space to allow that to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's basically to stay next to you. Probably that's the most important support from the partner, I believe.
Oh, I agree, but
Yeah.
geez, I was no picnic, let me tell you. I don't know if I would have hung in as long as she did. Because
Yeah, I'm not sure about myself as well, but I understand. Like, that's definitely something. Yeah, it's great that you had the support and you had the person staying and being next to you. Yeah, that means, do you think that, like, first thing is just to really come to the awareness, like something's going on with you? That's the first step what we should do as we feel like something is wrong, something's going on, I'm overwhelmed, I'm procrastinating, I hate what I'm doing, I don't like my life, it's just everything probably just kind of like I'm lost, feeling lost, or all these feelings. Then that means just to be aware this is happening to you. That's probably the first step, as I understood at the beginning that you said it, like just to be really aware, like something's going on.
Yeah, and if just things just don't feel right, if they think that you're just on repeat, if you look at yourself in the mirror and you don't like the person that's looking back at you, that's a pretty good indication that things aren't great.
Do you think? Okay. I have probably just last question, because I know that was a pretty hard period for you, and you mentioned that you spoke with a psychologist. Is there any point that it's the role of coach enough here, or is that someone you should look for first, or you should go to psychologist, or where is the border, or what do you think, what you would do differently? Because I know you went to psychologist probably because there was not that many coaches before. I believe that was a big thing as well. The industry was not really here. Or
yeah, look, that's a really good question. Wow, probably 3 or 4 years before I hit the rock bottom of burnout. I remember we were actually going through the process of having a look at some working with some consultants to help streamline some of the efficiencies in the practice that we had. And look, perhaps a little naively, my expectation was that a coach needed to do what I'd done, so I had a lot of these consultants coming to me, and not one of them had ever run a financial planning practice before or run a finance, broking business. They were all promising the world and thought that they could fix my problems within just a 45-minute interview. They didn't take the time to get to know me and understand what was important to me. They couldn't demonstrate that they had any real success in the type of industry that I was in. And look, the other side of that as well is probably in an arrogant sort of a way, I probably didn't give them the chance really to get to show and demonstrate their results. The arrogant financial planner, I was a pretty balanced bloke. I had a chip on both shoulders. So I was very much looking for someone to come in and say, well, you show me what you've done and then I'll copy you. And I was in just so much denial that the real game that needed to be worked on was the game that was going on between my ears, not necessarily the orchestration of the business, so to speak. And had I have invested that time, sort of that 3 years earlier, there's no doubt in my mind that I probably wouldn't have gone through that process, because that right coach would have been able to help me take a step back, get out of the business for a couple of days a week and start to work on things that meant that I'd have better processes, better efficiency, better delegation. The overwhelm of the anxiety wouldn't have been there, because the systems would have taken care of that rather than me just running on empty trying to manage all that. And so there was, in my mind, I guess I didn't really understand what the role of a coach was back then. I was probably looking for someone that was more of a mentor that had done what I wanted to do, and I was going to copy them. Whereas the right thing for me was probably actually a coach to start to work on the inner game of success that was going on in my head, and the self-doubt, the self-loathing, the fears, the procrastination, dealing with all that crap so that I had a clear headspace to actually be so much more efficient in what it is that I was doing.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. I would like to say that last year when we worked together, last year and a half, especially because we both overcome some traumas and some big things in our life. And I need to say, because when you talk, I can see how many things we implemented into Quantum Leap, our program, and I can see how many things we actually did together. And I think it's amazing how the small tools that you actually, you work on yourself, your awareness, your thoughts, and everything what you do every day, your values and your beliefs. So basically how you can put these things together and probably even maybe avoid burnout, or, take a step back before actually that things happen, before you actually have to go to see psychologist, or before you need to do anything more. You can just run through a program, and it helped me so much. That's why, I just want to know, is there anything specific that helped you the most from the program you're running?
Look, the Quantum Leap is really a culmination of probably 25 years of being in business and working in and around the financial services sector, and some, the corporate experiences that I had with that. And it was really about taking a more holistic approach to develop a plan and a strategy that I could actually work with clients that didn't just address the technical, it actually started to address the feelings and the emotions behind the technical, so that we could have a much more holistic approach in that process.
Mm-hmm.
And going through that process myself, what it did for me was help me build a real sense of happiness and fulfillment in my life. And I was able to start to embrace the abundance that I had around me with real gratitude and appreciation for what was actually there. And then I guess day by day, week by week, inch by inch almost, I was able to climb back out of that hole as I gained more clarity in what it is that I wanted, and develop that deeper understanding of how to connect with my purpose and passion and create, I guess, or even design the life that I wanted and who I wanted to be, and invest, every waking minute of becoming that.
Yeah. No, thank you very much. That was very good, very insightful, and very personal. And I really want to thank you and tell you, like, from the heart, I appreciate how honest you were in this interview, and I think everybody will appreciate it. And I believe that your talk, your experience, and ideas for other people probably, and steps they can do will help them to overcome or avoid the burnout. Beautiful. Thank you, Dave.
No worries. Thanks, Alex.